Beach fishing with a focus. Hi, my name's Roger Osborne. I'm back down at the beach, and as always, I have a plan. And in tonight's video, there's actually a lot of things to do with strategy, not just one or two things, maybe 5 or 6 really important things that influence you when you go beach fishing. And I'll be sharing that with you tonight. I'm actually more focused tonight on MULLOWAY, and that has influenced the bait that I'm using and where I'm fishing. Stick around to the end for a free PDF download which will outline some vital keys from today's session. If you're enjoying my content, subscription is absolutely free, and it certainly benefits my channel and helps me to make more videos. So please like, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Let's get into the fishing. You know, it's a beautiful afternoon. At least this afternoon, there's virtually no wind. The forecast actually said 5-kilometre winds, which I guess is pretty right. It's high tide in about an hour or so, but this beach looks more like a lake than a beach. It's one of those things. I actually know what structure is here because I had a look at it yesterday at low tide. And at low tide, I could see that there was actually a trough. Where I am here, there was a trough that was running along the edge with a sandbar behind it. And occasionally a few waves are breaking out on that sandbar, which they'll probably break even less once the tide comes in that little bit more. But it's still looking pretty good, even though there's very little movement, not much white water. I'm still pretty excited about what may happen when I put my bait in the water. Now, I've got a couple of large live mullet with me. Because my focus in this video is more to do with MULLOWAY, my baits tonight are live mullet, and I caught some beautiful fresh squid yesterday. So mullet and squid are two of the absolute best baits for MULLOWAY, so that's what I've got with me. And I'm fishing a high tide right on dark, so that's a huge positive. Just quickly, if you're as passionate about fishing as I am, and you really want to improve and enjoy it even more, why don't you join Roger's Fishing Online Fishing Club, my membership. I've got some amazing people who are members, and we all share our information with each other. There's so much content on there. There's all my fishing courses, plus there's a heap of stuff that's not available on YouTube. And there's no lock-in contracts. You can leave anytime you want. So head on over to rogersfishing.com and check it out. I'm going to have 2 large baits out tonight, and I'll have them in set rods. And as always, while I'm doing that, I've got a lighter rod that I'm just going to put a smaller bait on. I've got a few beach worms that unfortunately got left in the sun a little bit long today, and they're a bit like, man, they died. But I think I only caught them yesterday, so I think they may be all right. But other than that, I'm going to use some little thin strips of squid, or use some of the tentacles and the candles on the squid on a smaller hook, and just flick that out to potentially catch a brim, or a flathead, or a salmon, or even perhaps a little MULLOWAY might grab that. So I'm going to give that a go while I've got my big baits in the water. I'll probably wait a little longer till the sun gets a bit lower and I get a bit closer to high tide before I put my live mullet out. Now, I walked down near the shore before, and I noticed I could see all these mullet in the surf on the edge that are about that big, and I'm thinking, that's good, because my live mullet will not be as agile as theirs. It'll be easier prey for a fish. So if I've got a mullet out there, and there's a lot of mullet around at the moment, that's a really good thing. So I'm excited about that. This is the head of one of the squid that I caught yesterday. They're all pretty good size. Got a couple of really big ones. Now, I had a bit of a stuff up before. I got down here, and I've got normally mentally checking all the things I bring down the beach, and I forgot to bring a knife. But that's okay. When it comes to cutting up squid and stuff like that, I can't do that. But I'm going to totally improvise, and I'm sure I can get by without a knife, so let's see how I go. I'll use my, I figure I can break bits of squid candle off, which is what I might do first of all. Is I'm going to break a bit of squid candle off. I shouldn't have cut my fingernails yesterday. So I've just broken off that squid candle there. They are absolutely Beautiful baits. I've got a worm hook like what I use with my beach worms, but I'm going to thread a bit of squid candle on like a worm and toss it out and then just wait for a few minutes. So fortunately, I can break that. See, I was able to, using my very short thumbnail, I was able to push through and break a bit of candle off. So really, that's all I'm going to do with the squid is use brute force to break up some pieces, or even break off the actual tentacles themselves, which will be a little bit tougher, but I'm sure I'll be fine. I've got some pilchards there as well, and if I wanted to just break them in half, I can do that by hand. So, you know, it doesn't really matter that I don't have a knife. It doesn't stop me from fishing, so that's good. All I've got here is one of my worm hooks, but this squid candle is pretty soft and thin. It's a little bit like a worm. I'm going to thread it on, a little bit harder to thread on than a worm, but actually what I might do, I won't do that. It'll be easier if I just kind of thread it on like so until it goes right up the hook. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm actually going to put a half hitch on the top to hold it in position. And I'm going to make sure that the barb is really sticking right out like that. You can see the barb of the hook coming out there. I'm going to make sure that that's really pronounced. And then, so that it doesn't slip back down, I'm going to do the classic half hitch around the end. And then you've got, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? My fish is going to love that. Well, I hope it is. The only danger I face is if a tailor takes it, I'm just going to get annihilated. But hopefully there aren't too many tailor around. So this will be my first cast, not using worm, and I'm going to cast it out on top of this sandbar that the waves occasionally break on, because it's the only place on this beach that has any white water. See, there's a little wave coming here now, but that's actually not going to break. When the waves do break, they break over that way. This is a little bit different for me, not starting off with a beach worm first. Just a little squid bait. Let's just wait and see if there's anything out there. This is my light to medium beach rod that I'm using with this small bait on. This rod's 10 feet long. I'm using my reel, I think it's a 6,000 size reel with 15-pound monofilament line on it. And this rod is rated 6 to 12 kilos. So the line I've got on it is what, about 7 kilo line. It's more to the lighter end. In discussing focus, or having a focus or a strategy, probably the first thing is your location. Now, I'm fishing in a pretty flat sea tonight. However, I didn't come to this spot without knowing actually what was here. I had a look at this beach yesterday, which is my normal habit. I'll go and look at a couple of different beaches, and I had a look at the structure of the beach at low tide, which looked great. There was a little bit more surf yesterday, so there would have been a bit more white water. So overall, the structure looked really good. And that I found that encouraging. So I was really positive about coming to this location based on the structure. Now, I'm here near high tide, and it's very hard to tell anything. But because I was here yesterday, I actually know what's under the water, even though I can't see it. So that's one of the first things, is choosing a location that you think has the right setup for the type of fishing that you want to do. I noticed that there was an inshore trough, not hugely deep, but a parallel gutter that ran along the beach here that opened up towards the end of the beach. So I thought, well, that's good, because it has a natural access point for bigger fish to come in and then feed in that trough and look for smaller fish, you know, on dark. So that was really good. That was in my thinking. But tonight it doesn't really matter, because it's just like one big expanse of water. still, it's good to know exactly what's there. And considering that, I think my two main options for casting, it's like, okay, well, where do I cast when it all looks the same? Is there are occasional waves breaking on the sandbar, so I can cast a bit further out where that little bit of white water is occasionally. Other than that, I think I don't need to cast very far at all. I just really need to plop it in along the edge, because it's quite a deep little drop off along the edge, and I think probably the fish would come in pretty close. So that's what I'm thinking with my casting. Actually, I just want to mention something. As you know, when you have a YouTube channel, you get so many comments, and you know, probably 99% of them are amazing and really, really positive. People who are thankful for things. Very, very few negative things. And what I'm about to mention isn't necessarily negative, but a guy made a comment about that I talk too much, or I talk a lot. But there's actually a reason for that. It's because my videos are strongly towards teaching. They're not videos where it's like, just watch me catch some fish. The purpose, really, that was the whole thing when I started my YouTube channel, was I wanted to actually help people and teach them. And so when it comes to teaching, that involves me explaining things. So really, for you guys out there who think I talk too much, the whole reason is because I want to teach people. And really, my main aim there is people in the beginner to intermediate level. Obviously, people who are already amazingly successful at fishing may learn a few things, but I'm really helping more beginner to intermediate people. I found a couple of objects on the beach, a little bit of cuttlefish. The edge of this is actually, you know, really quite fine, potentially sharp, and I've got a piece of wood, a bit of driftwood, so I can maybe put my squid on there and cut it with that. Anyways, I've decided I'm going to put my live baits out, put a live bait out now. Still a little while before dark, but there's a few clouds around. It's getting close to high tide. I may as well put a couple of big baits out there. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to have a go at slicing up some squid with the cuttlefish. So I've got a couple of live mullet that I caught today. They're pretty darn big, but you know, if there's, it doesn't even have to be that big a jewie to swallow a bait like this. So I'm going to pick the smallest one. That's the smallest mullet that I have, and I'm going to whack him out there now. I'll show you the other guy. He's pretty solid. This guy, look at him. He's pretty big. So I've got these guys in there. So my rig is really basic. I've just got a running sinker to a swivel, a medium-sized leader, and I've got a 10-0 hook. I'm just going to pin it through the back of the fish, and I'm literally only going to cast it 5 metres from the edge. So I'm going to go down there and put this guy on. Got my rod holder ready. I've made sure that rod holder is really deeply wedged into the sand, because the last thing I want to happen is have my rod actually get pulled over. I'm going to do it towards the back of the fish because it'll expose more barb. It'll expose more barb there. And I'm going to whack him straight out. And I won't be catching a whiting with that bait. So that's not very far, but in these conditions, I think the big fish will come right up to the edge. But we'll soon find out. Now I need to tie another hook on my other rod before, because I had that little candle of squid, and I thought I'm going to toss it right near the edge, and I'm winding it in, and I got hit, and I pulled it in, and the end 2 centimetres had been chopped off by a TAILOR. So I tossed it straight back out again, just near the edge, and within about 10 seconds, bang, 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 I hooked a TAILOR. I wound it a few metres, and then it just bit straight through my line. So I think I need a different strategy because there's a few TAILOR out there. I can try tying a hook on again, but I don't have any wire leader. I do have some ganked hooks, So I could use the ganked hooks. That's a way of, you know, negating the TAILOR. I might need to do that, actually. I'm going to whack my other big line out with the squid on it. Now, what I'm going to do is, I think I've got a squid flap, which is, you know, when you deal with a squid, you get the side flaps off the side of the squid. So that's actually a squid flap. But I'm going to peel a bit of that darker coloured skin off. You can see it comes off just to expose more of the white flesh of the squid. I might even leave that hanging like a daggy thing there. And what I've done, I've rigged up my other rod with 2 snelled 6/0 hooks. So I'm just going to put this piece of squid flap on that. So you can see here, there's my 2 6/0s. They're not too far apart, like that. I'm just going to actually put them on this flap more towards the top end so I don't have too much. I'm going to put, I think I might put one, I might actually put it through twice rather than once. I'll put that through there like that. And then this one up here, I might go through there and back the same way. Just move that back a bit. So really I've got a squid bait like that that has heaps of barb exposed, but a lovely big flap of fresh squid. So that beautiful piece of squid is going to go out now. And I've still got enough squid for probably at least 6 baits, which is, I think is enough. So I've got that mullet out there. Now I'm going to whack the squid out, and then I'm going to actually use ganked hooks and a pilly on my light rod. Just going to move over this way just a little bit. Just down the beach from where I am, there's a huge amount of seaweed. It's like a huge carpet. So when I hit the beach, I had to walk a little bit up the beach to get away from that weed. But it doesn't look like it's down this way, which is good. Now that's not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to flop this out, not very far at all. And I don't want a big tailor to bite me off. So really I don't want to cast very far. Yeah, so that's what, about 10 metres or something. And I'm going to set the drag so that some line can be pulled out but not too easily. I think a little bit harder. Yeah, that's okay. All right, now I'm just going to let these guys do their thing, and I'm going to toss a pilly out. I expect I'll probably catch some tailor on that pilchard because of that other one that I hooked before. I brought some pilchards along because I was potentially going to see if I could pull a couple of near high tide beach worms, because it was going to be about 2 hours before high tide, or hour and a half when I got here. But looking at the features of the beach, that's totally not possible. But still always handy to have a few pilchards. So I'm going to whack this. I've got a 4 gang. So I've got a 4 gang, not a 3 gang. I made this gang up myself because most of the gangs you buy nowadays only have 3 hooks. So that way I can see where the end hook needs to go in order to line up the other one with the top hook. So you just swing them around, poke them through, give them a wriggle, a little bit of a wriggle, swing it around, poke it through, wiggle it through the hole, swing it around and put it through his eye, which is a nice tough part of the head, and that's ready to go. I'm going to head up here away from my other lines. I don't think I need to cast out very far with this either. So I'm just going to whack it. Just a little flick. I'll probably hang around tonight till a little bit after dark. Considering that high tide's right on dark, I might stay a little bit longer. Most of the sessions that I do in these videos, I'm only at the beach 1 to 2 hours. Sometimes only an hour, but generally 1 to 2 hours. I don't normally hang around a lot longer than that. So now my bait's in the water. I've got fresh squid, live mullet, and a whole gang pilchard. I remember one time I was fishing in my boat at the mouth of the Hawkesbury River, and I was in a spot where I used to fish for mulloway, but while I'm waiting around for the tide change, usually I fiddled around and fished for brim and flathead until the tide change, but I put a half pilchard out on a 20-pound hand line. Anyway, my hand line went off and I hooked this fish. Took me I had to walk all around the boat under the anchor line. Finally landed it a little while later. It was a 20-kilo mulloway on a half pilchard. So, you know, you catch fish like mulloway sometimes when you're not really necessarily trying to catch them, but you do catch more when you fish specifically for them. So I'm just thinking that, you know, if there happens to be any mulloway on this beach tonight and they're patrolling up and down, they could take any one of these baits. They could take the pilchard, the squid, or the mullet. Yeah. So that's what bit me off before. You can see on the gang hooks, look, he's hooked on the last one. I'm going to keep this tailor because I could eat him or I could use him for bait. Actually, I can't really use... Oh, imagine putting him out whole. He's a little bit big. But I just remembered I can't actually cut him up for bait. I don't have a knife, and I'm not going to use that bit of cuttlefish to try and cut up a tailor. I just want to check my live mullet bait. It's only been out there about 15 minutes or so, but just going to check and see how he is. And I'll probably just chuck him out again. Sometimes tailor, I'm sort of I'm right near a piece. There's a lone piece of weed here that's annoying. Oh, I got him. All right, no, he's pretty lively. I was about to say happy, but I think I'll use the word lively instead. Just chucked him out a little further that time. Won't it be good to see this rod just buckle over? That would be so cool. I'm going to see if I can actually cut a tentacle of squid off with the cuttlefish on this piece of wood. Oh yeah, I've definitely cut through it. Look at that. Yep, I cut that tentacle off successfully. So that's a nice little bait. I'm just going to leave that sitting there. Okay, so I'll whack this guy. Now I know these pilchards are all about the same size, so I don't have to re-measure the hooks against the pilchard again. I can just put it in the same position at the back of the pilchard with reasonable confidence that it will line up perfectly, which I can see it's going to do. So it's pretty quick to whack them on. Look at that moon. Just going to flop this pilly out. Not too far. That's probably too far, but should be all right. See if we get another tailor. With tailor, you have to kind of be a bit aggressive when they bite. And you strike in the middle of all the bites. You don't wait for them to run with it. And you're a bit aggressive in bringing them in as well. So this one's about the same size as the last one. Obviously a few tailor around. They're not really my target species tonight, but they are good to eat. I caught a tailor, and it was my camera person, who you can't see right now. She ate the tailor, and it was just a tailor, just a bit of butter and salt, that's it, and she woofed the whole lot. It was quite a decent sized tailor. She loved it. I had a question from Matthew. G'day, Matthew. Specifically around ganged hooks and also the world's deadliest rig, which is my rig where I use a 4.0 main hook and a size 2 stinger. Is one better than the other? I'm just watching my rod while I'm talking to you actually. But, or is it a different strategy? Both are excellent for fish like tailor. One of the main advantages of the deadliest rig, which is only a half pilchard bait, is you can cast it further, and you can use that for fish like brim and, you know, just brim or snapper, etc. Whereas, you know, if you were using a whole pilchard, you know, normally if you're getting brim bites, it's a little bit harder to hook them on a whole pilchard. But if you use a half pilchard bait with 2 hooks and a smaller hook, you can catch tailor and fish like brim and, as well. So, I mean, both work really well. There's a slight difference in the casting ability and targeting smaller fish with a smaller bait. So, thanks for the question, Matthew. So, tonight's video is beach fishing with a focus or a plan. And I've mentioned about location, and then the next decision you need to make is what type of fish am I going to target, and what is the tide, and how does the tide impact the type of fish that I'd like to catch. So you need to have a look at the tide, see what the tide, whether it's going to be a high tide, low tide, mid tide. That will actually influence when you go fishing, if you want to fish a particular part of the tide. Then once you've decided what fish species you'd like to catch, then you need to ask the question, okay, if I want to catch a particular fish, what bait should I use? What's the best bait for that fish? So tonight my main focus was, hang on, it's another tailor. I was having a bit of a whack at it. I don't know if I've got any bait left. We'll see if I've got any bait left. Tonight my main focus was MULLOWAY, so that influenced me fishing a high tide on dark, and also totally influenced which baits I was going to use, which is the live mullet and the squid. So all of that was based around what type of fish that I wanted to catch and what the tide was, and then also the location, that it looked like the beach structure could be positive in that regard. That doesn't mention your equipment, because you have to match your equipment to the fish that you want to catch as well. So there's a few layers to it. I think I've probably lost my bait. I had a tailor bite then, but I missed it. So you can see the hooks are clean. So I'm going to quickly whack another pilchard on. Neither of my other rods have really done anything yet. They've both got good baits on them. I'm getting bites on my other rod over there. I just saw that getting whacked. Yeah, look at that. I think these are tailor bites I'm getting on this rod. It's got the squid on it, but I could get bitten off if I'm not careful. They might have already, because they could bite through my line if they're tailor biting the squid. I can see my rod moving really erratically, which is typical of a tailor bite. I think I better check my bait. I might have even lost a hook, I'm not sure. All right, well, there's no fraying on my line. That piece of squid has been chopped up a little bit. There's a bit of it left. It's probably enough bait to chuck back out again. I might put a little squid tentacle, the one I cut off before with the with that cuttlefish. I might just dangle it on the end to make it look a bit more attractive. Because this bait has been a little bit hacked up, you can see that hook's right in the edge there. I'm going to pull that out and reposition that in the middle of that fleshy bit. Then just to tease the fish, I'm going to get this bit of tentacle. Might put that through twice. Just got to make sure that the barb is sticking out like that. I'm going to put that lovely bit of tentacle on the end. Look at that. We'll give that a go. All right, better get it out there. That bite I had on this big squid bait before, which was quite erratic, and my rod was shaking like that, a mulloway wouldn't do that. That's just TAILOR whacking at it. If a mulloway took it, and it hooked up, it would be like, and it would be peeling line out. So it's very easy to tell if you're getting something like a TAILOR or something more substantial. Well, it's getting close to being dark soon, so, and almost high tide. It's very pleasant out here. It's not cold at all, so really lovely evening. Certainly not a hassle hanging around for a little while. Oh, I missed him. Has he taken my bait already? Gotcha this time. There's obviously a few TAILOR out there.
It's cute. He's a good live bait.
Yeah, look at that. What do you reckon I swap my mullet over for a TAILOR? Just for a bit of fun, you know. I might do that. I'm going to put him in my bucket with my aerator so he doesn't lose any energy, and I'm going to pull my mullet in and whack him on. Okay, so I have this live mullet here, which is still alive. I'm going to put him back in the bucket. Now I'm going to whack this TAILOR on. I'm going to put him on a similar way to the that I had the mullet. Just going to pin him through the back. One big hook. And hope that if a big mulloway swallows him, that hook gets him in the right place. Okay, here goes a 35 centimetre TAILOR. Out for bait. Now, if anything takes that, it won't be small. Just need to catch my breath for a second. Just before coming fishing tonight, I did a 1 hour workout with a personal trainer. So I'm a little bit knackered. I've mentioned in previous videos, it's a great idea to have a lighter rod while you're actually fishing for trophy fish, or you've got big baits out, because you can, sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. but you can still catch a feed. You know, while you're fishing for the big fish, you can still use another line and potentially catch tailor like I am just now, or brim, or whatever else might be there. So that's a great way to go. I also do that when I'm snapper fishing off the rocks. Put a snapper bait out the back and then just fish around the edges for drummer and things like that. Yeah, I don't think it'll take long to get a bite actually. And I probably need to put some lights on my rods in a minute, otherwise I won't be able to see what's happening. That reminds me, I had a question from Sydney, from South Africa. G'day Sydney from Australia, how are you mate? Sydney was asking, why don't I use sand fleas for bait? Well Sydney, we don't really get the same sort of sand fleas in Australia, not in New South Wales where I live anyway, that you get in South Africa. The only fleas we get are the type that you get on your dog and your cat that bite you, and they'd be pretty small on a hook. So yeah, we don't really get them. Hang on, I'm getting a bite. Come on. Just take that pilchard. Tailor are funny sometimes. They just whack, 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 and you're kind of waiting for the right moment, but just then I could feel my bait being savaged. Ah. Have I got him or not? No. Anyways, they're one of the few types of fish which you just got to give it a whack right in the middle of all the bites. Okay, let's have a little look. All right, well, there's not much left there. That was the result of that tailor bite. You can see he's just whacked away at the middle of the bait. I haven't managed to hook up. I just got the head left on there and a little bit of tail. I had a question from Selvin. G'day Selvin, how are you mate? And also thank you Selvin for all your kind words in your comment. I really appreciate it. And he was asking about barometric pressure and how that affects fish. Well, I've looked into it a little bit over the years, and I do know that it affects fish from the point of view of their swim bladder. A lot of fish have swim bladders and they get affected by barometric pressure. And when there's going to be a change in the barometer, they'll feed quickly before the change. So it's not something I've looked into recently. When I plan to go fishing, I don't really base it on the barometric pressure that much, but it definitely is a factor, certainly with fish that have swim bladders. And there you go. Oh, as soon as it hit the water then, I didn't even have time to wind up the slack. I might have to wind it in. It just hit the water. I got a bite as I was just winding up the slack. I might have to wind it all the way back in again and put another bait on already. But my other tailor is swimming around all by himself out there, waiting for someone to eat him. Yeah, I think I've lost my bait literally in about 5 seconds. Yeah, look at that. Clean hooks, really quick. I just checked my squid bait and it lost some of the bait because there's a lot of tailor out there. And I've noticed that there's a fray in my line about 2 inches up from my top hook. So I just can't cast that back out again like that. I'm going to need to create a new snell and tie a new rig. So I'm going to do that before. I'm not going to risk losing a big fish on a suspect rig. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. I was able to trim a little bit of squid off there, make that look a little bit more. Anyway, I'm going to put that on my snell hooks, I reckon. Now the hooks are going to be in the top part of the bait, but I'm not too fussed about that. It's just a lively big piece of fresh squid that I think if Mr. Dewey was coming past, I don't think he'd knock that back. That lively big bit of squid, so I think it's a good bait. Well, I've just put a new rig on my squid bait because it had some fraying from Taylor. I'm going to actually wind in Mr. Taylor and see how he's going. Just to check him, nothing's happened at this point. But I'm going to chuck him out again regardless. Whether he's dead or alive, I'm going to chuck him back out. And I need to put some lights on my rods now, otherwise I've got no idea what's happening. Even though it's almost a full moon. I think the full moon's in about 3 days. Okay, well he's still whole. He's almost dead though. I'm going to hook him back further towards the tail because I do know that Mulloway swallow their fish. Most fish swallow their bait head first. You can tell when their mouths are open like that they're pretty gone. Anyway, he's going back out again. I have these clip-on lights. They just clip onto the tip of your rod. These ones are the extra large size because where you put them on the rod, it's got to be, you know, if your rod's quite thick, if you're using like a 13-foot beach rod, the tip of your rod is not that thin. And one of the hooks goes one way and one of them goes the other way, so they stay on pretty well. So I'm just going to crack this guy, give him a shake, get the light happening. I'll put him in my pocket, do the other one, and we'll go and get those rods sorted so that I can, so that I don't miss anything. I just realised on that first rod that the light I had hanging down where my line runs through the runners, I'm just going to go and flip it up above so it's away from the line. Oh, my rod's bending over. I think it's a TAILOR, not a it's not a MULLOWAY, it's just a TAILOR that has taken that squid bait. It's a bit bigger than the other TAILORs though, probably. Hopefully I can get him in. Oh no, look at this. It's actually Mr. MULLOWAY. Look at that, that's a lovely little dewy, unfortunately too small. He's croaking. It doesn't mean he's dying, but I can feel him croaking. So look at that, he's snavelled that squid bait. So I'm going to just gently cut that line off and put a couple more hooks on. But there you go, so there's a small dewy out there. Where there's little ones, there's got to be big ones. So I'm just going to quickly deal with him and put him back in the water. I had a question from Val, how do you salt your bait? I just use the home brand salt from the supermarket and I just put a reasonably generous sprinkling on whatever I'm salting and then I put it in clip lock bags in the freezer. Some guys like to use pool salt. It's pretty cheap, you can buy a whole 20 kilo bag of pool salt for about $10 or $11. Some guys have containers where you'll have a container with holes in it. You'll have a bed of pool salt, you put your pilchards or your fillets in there, a bit more salt, and then they have a tub underneath and all the liquid drains out of the bait, and then they're freshly salted baits on top. It's pretty easy really. You've just got to coat it in salt and whack it in the freezer. And guys, look, you know, I really do appreciate all of the comments on YouTube and the questions, and I do my best to answer them. Nowadays I get a lot of comments, but I do jump on the computer a lot and answer as many as I can. So please keep these questions coming, and hopefully in oncoming videos I'll be able to answer a few more. So it's a little bit after dark now. The TAILOR have turned off, which often happens with TAILOR. They'll start biting just before dark. They'll bite for about an hour around dark, but at least now my baits aren't getting whacked by TAILOR, which was evidenced with that small MULLOWAY that I caught just a few minutes ago. So at least I'm not losing my bait, which is good. So I'm really just staying here and waiting a little bit longer to see if there are any other MULLOWAY or hopefully a bigger fish that might come along and grab it. But getting back to focus and strategy, one of the points I mentioned is that once I'd decided on location, tide, species of fish, bait, all of these things, then I've got to get my gear ready. So 2 of the rods that I brought with me tonight have got 15 kilo mono on them, which is what I generally use. I don't think you need heavier than that for mulloway. They don't bite you off, and on a beach generally when you're fighting them, you're not dealing with obstacles, so it's not really a problem. So I specifically bought those 2 rods to put larger mulloway baits on, and I brought my lighter line that I could flick around and play with while I've got the bigger baits out. So there's a number of layers in preparing, but when you prepare, you vastly increase your chances of success, like 5 times what you would if you had no plan and just went down to the beach and chucked your rod in the water and hoped for the best. I've decided I'm going to pull this TAILOR in, and I'm going to put the whole squid head on for bait, because that's a really good bait, and this really is a huge dead bait. So I'm going to whack him in and put the squid head on instead, which means I'll have 2 large squid baits out there. Not very fancy. I'm just going to put the whole head on, and so that it'll stay on. Needs to be in a little bit further. Pull the hook out here like that, and then I'm going to do a massive half hitch around this little bunch of stuff. Just to hold it up above the hook. I'm just going to let that hang out there like that. It's a big bait, but I think it's a better bait than that whole TAILOR. I'm going to whack him out. I thought the TAILOR had switched off. This one's fractionally bigger. I've still got my 2 lovely squid baits out there. I've just been having a fish with the pilchards while I'm waiting for the squid to get a bite. Come on, take it. It was getting some wax, but hasn't had like a consistent one. I think probably TAILOR, but... So my rod was getting whacked quite violently. It got pulled over a fair bit. Nothing actually stayed on or connected. I do know there's still TAILOR out there, so... I'm getting a bite on my other rod. I've got a pilchard out on that one. I think I better pull this in and check it. This had the whole squid head on. Doesn't feel like there's much on the end. Sometimes you get small bronze whaler sharks come along. The whole squid head is completely gone. No fraying on the line. Oh, hang on. Yeah, there's a little bit of fraying. I can feel. So I would not be able to chuck this out the way it is. It's right about there. There's a little bit of fraying on there. It's amazing how they got that whole thing off. There you go. Well, I didn't get bitten off. What are my options? That's the question. I could retie this hook, and I don't have any squid left. I just put the last of the squid on my other rod because it got completely taken as well, but there was no fraying on the line. So that one's gone back out again. So I just have to have a little think about what I'm going to do with this one. Doesn't feel like a fish. Yeah, it's a fish actually. I got a fish. Didn't realise I had a fish. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Oh, it's a little brim. Oh no, it's a trevally. A little trevally, or what they call skippy in Western Australia. This guy's about 30 centimetres long, so not a huge one. Oh, there you go. So I've had a few nibbles on the pilchard, but he hooked himself. Oh, ouch. He spiked me in the stomach. I'm going to do like Arnie and say I let him go. That was in Commando. Any of you guys ever seen the movie Commando? That's a cool movie. That was one of the early Arnie movies, Commando. All right, well, I might as well whack another pillion, I reckon. I've only got about 3 pilchards left. I brought about maybe 15 pilchards with me. They were just like a backup. Gotcha. Well, I was getting a bite on this squid. It just feels like a lump of lead. It's not really fighting. Oh, there you go. A baby banjo ray. These guys don't have any, they don't have any spikes or spines or anything on them. They're pretty, you can handle them no problem. They're pretty safe. They grow a lot bigger than that. So anyway, I will just release him. I really have no squid left other than this little bit of mangled stuff. I've got a bit of tentacle. So I'll put a bit of tentacle on one hook and this mangled piece of squid on my Snell rig. Not much I can do with it. But it's still worth casting out. I got one. Oh, I got a bite straight away then. I got hit straight away as soon as I hit the water. Just pulled a little bit of line then. This could be a small mulloway. Or maybe slightly bigger than the last one if it is. It's got a little bit of weight to it. We'll have to see what it is. It's gone over my other line. I'm going to go over my rod. It's a little bit bigger than the other fish I had. And it's fighting a bit, so let's just see what it is. It's come right in near the shore. And it's heading along the beach a bit. Definitely heading along the beach. What have I got? If you'd like a free PDF download of some vital keys from today's session, hit the link in the corner or in the description below. It's a little bronze whaler. I thought if that was a mulloway, it would have possibly been a keeper. But unfortunately, it was a shark. Now, you've got to keep your hands away from the sharp end of these things. He's got a lot of energy and I want to release him, but they got sharp teeth. It's amazing I haven't been bitten off. So you can see this shark. I've got to be very careful because of his sharp teeth. You can see one of my Snell hooks obviously went within his mouth and he bit through it, but the top, you can see the teeth actually. He'd make a mess of your hand, I tell you what. Look at those teeth. That's a good view actually. So I don't want him to move his head around much. My hook is kind of in the tough part of his mouth just here. Aha! He's really strong, this thing. I'm holding onto him really tight because they are strong and I don't want to get bitten. Whoa, he swam straight up at me. Classic. I chucked him in and he swam straight back at me. Go on, off you go, mate. You're going the wrong way. He still had a lot of energy, that shark. He was fine. Oh well, it wasn't a mulloway. What a bummer. Yeah, I could tell by the weight in that fish. I thought if this is a mulloway, it'd probably be legal. But unfortunately, it was a shark. Well, actually, that was my last piece of squid, and I'm pretty much out of pilchards. I still do have one live mullet and a dead mullet, but I'm going to call it quits. I've been fishing for about 2 hours and 15 minutes in total since before dark. So it's a reasonable length of time, and it's a good hour after dark. The tide's on its way out and I'm just about out of bait, so I'm going to knock off, but I'll be back into it again really soon. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. It's great. I love bumping into people on the street and meeting people who watch my videos. It's very encouraging, so thank you very much. I'll see you soon.